All right, welcome into a post-season edition of SJHL Weekly. The Centennial Cup is right around the corner, and we are going to preview that today in our official Centennial Cup preview show. The Melfort Mustangs are practicing as we speak. They are on the ice getting ready for their first matchup tomorrow on Thursday in the Centennial Cup in Oakville, Ontario. So we have some great stuff for you today, including a look at the Melfort Mustangs. We're going to deep dive the Mustangs, take a look at their roster going into the tournament, how they performed in the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. We'll take a look at their schedule. We'll deep dive their opponents that they're going to be playing in the round robin. Plus, we're going to chat with Melfort Mustangs star goaltender James Venne. That was a chat that we had with him on Monday. We'll show that to you today. And live in studio here today, we are graced by the presence of SJHL Director of Marketing, Jacob Faith, who will be sliding in right beside me here for the third segment of the show today. We're going to be talking about the season as a whole, some of our awesome partners here at the SJHL, and some great news as well, just overall about the SJHL and the league in general, and going into the busy summer that's sure to be exciting, and then a new season coming up. But that's so far ahead. We're going to stick with what we have right now. And first, we're going to thank those sponsors that I just mentioned. Of course, UPL Canada, big one for us here, Borgo, Cantera Seeds, Capital Automall, Chevrolet, Great Western, Nutrien, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, SGU, and SGI. Jamie, a lot of letters, a lot of numbers, a lot of great things going on. No Rory today. Rory McGouran is down with the sickness, you might say. He is down with the sickness. He has an illness today. He could not make it to join us, but however, he is here in spirit, and we can't wait to get him back for whatever we do next with Rory McGouran. And he will be back. He is just under the weather. But Jamie's here today. Jamie Neugebauer, Nugsy, the Centennial Cup is nearly here. How excited are you?
Yeah, I can't wait. I love it. I've loved it since I was a kid, to be honest. You know, I'll be honest, didn't grow up where Junior A was a really big thing in my house. It was the Ontario Hockey League was the biggest junior thing for me. But when this RBC Cup, they used to call it, Centennial Cup, they used to call it, whatever, come around, I would make sure I tuned into TSN for the gold medal game at least to watch all those great teams and great players. And it was just great hockey and a lot of fun and as gritty and as intense as it can get. So all the champions are there. It's a lot of confidence and a lot of competence and great coaching, so it should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, 10 great hockey teams are going to be duking it out, so it's going to be a ton of fun, and it all starts tomorrow. But as we said, our Melfort Mustangs, our boys, are on the road. They're on the ice right now. I think we have some photos actually of them practicing pretty much as we speak here. The commissioner, Kyle McIntyre, is in Oakville right now, and I think he caught the Mustangs on the ice practicing. So if we can throw those pictures up here, guys. As we talk, there they are, getting prepped, getting prepared, going through their last-minute motions, getting on the ice, getting the feel for the puck on the new rink. It is an Olympic-sized ice. It's an international-sized ice surface. So again, we talked to James Venne about that coming up here later in the show, just how different it is. And, you know, thankfully, Jamie, you are the voice of a team in this league that does have this size of ice surface. So it's not foreign necessarily to the Mustangs, but they don't get to Notre Dame all the time. How did they play? Like 4 or 5 games this year against Notre Dame?
Two in Wilcox.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's not the most foreign thing for these guys, but it is nice to get out there and just kind of notice the difference. So they're going to be ready to roll for Thursday. And Jamie, these Melfort Mustangs look to become the first Saskatchewan team to win a national championship since 2014. The Yorkton Terriers, of course, did it back in 2014. We have a photo of that team. What a team it was. Yeah. A lot of special players, a lot of special personnel on that team. I think of, you know, I look at that picture and I see on the right side there, the third guy in a suit from the right. That's Gord Pritchard, who's now the CEO of the Regina Pats. You know, there's a lot of really great people in this photo. The players, a lot of them went on to really great college careers, et cetera, et cetera. So you just had a talk recently with voice of the Terriers, Benny Walchuk, about this team, because he was the voice of this team, and he still is the voice of the Terriers, of course, Benny Walchuk. But What did you learn from Benny with that chat about that team?
Yeah, you can find it on sjhl.ca right now, by the way, if you're wondering. And also Benny has put out some content, so check out Benny Welchuk's social media accounts. He's wrote a big article and had a chat with their general manager, Don Chesney.
Don Chesney,
from that
what
team,
a guy.
as well. And yeah, just similar in a lot of ways to this Melfort Mustangs team. Just like a team that was built out from the back end, Cale Thompson in net. You know, the Norris twins, how great were they in 2014 for Yorkton? Went on to RIT and did great things. They had a great decor, you know, Turner Ottenbright, et cetera, too. So they were built from the back end out, had enough offense. I think that's how we characterize this Melfort team, right? James Venne in net, Freemore Olofsson, you know, Ty Thornton and Nolan Roberts, et cetera, on the back end. Like great back end, and so enough offense up front. And that's, you know, they're very similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and we are going to look at this Melfort Mustangs roster kind of top to bottom, as we have several times this season, but it is the time of year to kind of just go over it all again. But let's take a look first at the tournament format. As you can see, we have a graphic for you here, the tournament format, and just kind of how this tournament works, because it is a bit unique compared to other tournaments, so to speak. This is the group of teams. This is Group A and Group B. Yeah. We can look at that too if we want really quick, guys, because we were going to look at that. But this is the tournament format. So Nugsy, if you want to take it away here.
Yeah, so there's two groups of 5 teams. Melfort is in Group B. We'll talk about their group in depth in a minute. Each group plays a round robin. If you don't know what a round robin is, that means you play everybody else in your group one time. The group winners receive a bye to the semifinals on Saturday, which is huge because then you don't have to play 7 games in 10 days. You can play 6 games in 10 days, and that extra day of rest would be huge. So certainly the Melfort Mustangs hoping to win every game and hoping, therefore, to get that bye to the Saturday semifinals. If they finish second or third in the group, they have to play a crossover quarterfinal against Group A, which is very problematic, A, because of the rest situation, and B, because Group A is loaded. Loaded. Group B is not easy, obviously, but it's slightly less of a difficult group, I would say. So there you go. No game is easy. Obviously, it's the Centennial Cup, but certainly they want to avoid that if they can. And then the championship would go on Sunday. Kind of took that graphic down a little bit fast, but the semifinals, there you go. The higher of the number 1 seeds in each group can pick their semifinal opponent, I believe, and then the other one can pick what time of day they either play, either 4 or the 7th, something like that.
Oh,
in
interesting.
Oakville. So, yeah, so it's kind of like a draft like that type of a situation. And yeah, obviously, the better you do in the group stage, the better you set yourself up, because every moment of rest is huge.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this time of year, everybody's hurting, and every day or every hour off, honestly, can be a determining factor as to who's playing and who isn't. Let's have a look at those teams now, if we don't mind. Group A and Group B. And Nugsy, if you can go over, because we're going to talk a lot about Group B, but if you can just go over Group A and just kind of tell everybody who's over there first, as to the best of your ability, and then we'll dive in a little bit more with Group B.
Yeah, well, if you're a pure numbers guy, and by numbers I mean commitments, the biggest thing you'd have to say is that Group A has a lot of commitments. Like Calgary has 6 sort of premium D1 commits, and then a couple major junior kids on top of that. The Calgary Canucks at the bottom, and then the Collingwood Blues have 7 D1 commits. Including what many people say is the best goalie in the tournament, and Calgary maybe has the 1A best goalie in the tournament in Julian Molinaro. So Collingwood, they're the champions of the OJHL, the number 1 team in the CJHL rankings, and then Calgary, who won the AJHL, of course, are terrific. Collège Français has a ton of guys who were at that Centennial Cup a couple of years ago in Estevan, so they have that experience. The Quebec champions there at the top, and Navan, navigate a very, very tight, parity-filled ZCHL in the Ontario region. With Briggs Jowett, the former Notre Dame Hounds defenseman, they're doing a great job for the Navan grads, coached by a real experienced guy, Marty Abrams. The Sudbury Cubs in their first year of existence, maybe, again, famous last words, lambs to the slaughter a little bit in Group A, but I'm sure it's a great experience for the Northern Ontario champions. But really, it's Collingwood and Calgary are probably the number 1 and number 2 probably biggest favorites for everybody that don't, that everybody kind of watching this tournament from a pundit, very neutral perspective, I would say. So for them to be in the same group is tough, and it bodes well to some degree for Melfort.
Yeah, absolutely. And Collingwood, of course, Flin Flon, the Flin Flon Bombers were the #1 team all season pretty much.
Yeah.
Collingwood is the team that dethroned them as the #1 team in the SJHL rankings at the end of the year for the last, month or so of the year. So, I mean, that team they have a very, very good team, and they've been here before.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Collingwood's the only team that's back from last year's tournament. So, Mike Tarantino, the GM there in Collingwood, Jordan Salinger, the director of player personnel, both of those guys are really, really dear friends of mine, guys I've known in the game for a very long time. Great, great guys. And they've put together a wagon led by Noah Pack, of course, in net.
Yeah.
That other group will be bearing watching for sure, too.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So if you are watching these games on HN Live or on the Hockey Canada website, make sure you tune into Group A as well. I know we're all going to be tuned into Group B as SJHL fans, but make sure you tune into the Group A games as well to see, if Melfort's going to go far, they're going to have to play one or two of those teams at some point.
Yep.
So keep an eye on those teams. It's going to be a great tournament all around. But of course, we're here to talk about Group B, and of course, we're here to talk about the Melfort Mustangs, Nugsy. So I love talking about this team because we talked about them all year as the most resilient team in the league. They had so many moments of adversity, injuries, man games missed. Some of their best players missed like half the season. Yet they're here as champions of the SJHL, the Cantera Seeds Cup champions. And I think that's such a cool story. We can talk about the top guys. We can talk about goaltender James Venne, of course, who had such an amazing season, top to bottom. He was the heaviest workload of any goalie in the league. We can talk about Aiden Hutchinson, who led the team in scoring. Ryan Duguay, who was well on his way. I will say this, Ryan Duguay, had he not had health issues early in the season, he was well on the way to be the goal-scoring champion, like the goal-scoring leader of this league. Ran into some injury issues, missed a good chunk of time, came back in the playoffs, and was so good for this team, couple game winners. You look at Zach Summers, a guy who had some injury adversity throughout the year, but when he played, boy, was he good. Et cetera, the defenseman. But I'll let you take over here, Jamie. The Melfort Mustangs, give me your synopsis.
Well, the first thing everybody will talk about with the Melfort Mustangs right now is who's healthy, right? You asked me that question on Insider last time.
Who's healthy?
And I asked Trevor Blevins that question, and he was willing to answer it. I'll give you and it's good news. It really is.
Okay, good.
The good news is, the bad news, we'll give you first. The bad news is that we won't likely see Zach Summers or David Ryu. Definitely not for Game 1. We won't see David Ryu at all. Whether we'll see Zach Summers is dubious. But other than that, he said that they're all healthy. Now, he has said in interviews and other places that he plans on rotating his squad, which A, he wants to do to keep the team fresh, and B, he has to do to some degree because you're only allowed 8 20-year-olds in the lineup, and Melfort has 9 available 20-year-olds to play. So, like a Hayden Prasovsky, he might have to sit out a game, or a Logan Cox will have to sit out a game.
Yeah.
Those were guys who were kind of injury question marks. Logan Cox didn't finish the finals. Hayden Prasovsky hardly played in the finals. So those 2 20-year-old forwards, I think, might have to sit and watch on occasion. But other than that, he was very encouraged. Nolan Roberts missed time in the finals. He's a huge, emotional element. Austin Shepard left Game 6. He's a big emotional, physical element for this Melfort team. Obviously, they've had some time off since Game 6. So the health question is good news, really, for Melfort. And that's kind of where it starts, right? And then I should also say, like, the suspension to Ryan Duguay. Lots of people have asked me this question. And the answer is, even though some people said, they wiped it out or something, they didn't wipe it out. Ryan Duguay is suspended for the Miramichi game. But, again, it's a rotation thing. Trevor Blevins, will try to get guys in and out. Ryan Duguay's a 20-year-old, so that means, maybe both Prasovsky and Cox can play. So, there you go, and
just
whoever else.
Further to that, with Ryan Duguay missing 1 game, it's not the end of the world.
Definitely not.
Because this team was so riddled with adversity all year, they've had guys step up into his role all year anyways. So a guy like Logan Belton has played first-line minutes with that line of Aiden Hutchinson and Clay Sleva. They've had other guys throughout their lineup.
Pigeon really stepped up to the top 6.
Exactly.
Really good,
so they have guys who can fill the spot for a game. And like you said, this gives them a chance maybe to put in another 20-year-old for the first game and then see where it goes from there. But Nugsy, one thing that we talk about, I mean, you just talked a lot about the available people, but one thing we talked about was that amazing top pair of Leith Olofsson and Chase Frietmore. Chase Frietmore recently, we talked to him on the show, recently committed to the University of Regina Cougars. Awesome for him. Super excited to hear that news. Blake Heward, by the way, Estevan Bruin, I'm taking all your nugs and notes here. I'll leave it for you, but that's a side note. But how important are those guys going to be in a tournament like this, where these are all champions, they all have top players regardless of where they come from, and these guys are going to be a huge part in shutting those guys down?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Trevor Blevins on the ice after Game 6 against Flin Flon. We were talking about the Centennial Cup and the big ice, and he felt good about it because he had a team, first of all, that moved the puck well, managed the puck well, don't turn pucks over well. So on big ice, if you're managing the puck well, if you don't manage the puck well, turnovers are going to be a problem because you have more space to cover, you have more area to back check, and that decor especially really manages the puck well. And especially you talk about like a healthy Nolan Roberts and a healthy Ty Thornton at the same time. We really haven't seen those guys together, or those guys in a lineup at the same time, whether they play together or not. So, it'll be very, very encouraging, I'm sure, for Trevor Blevins for that health issue on that, or the health situation, especially on that back end, to have those two veteran guys, back in there. And that really doesn't take all the load off of guys like Bo Eisner and Cole Unger, who did a terrific job, and Danton Cox, if he's playing D, which I don't know, he'd probably be better forward at this point. But that being said, to have Bo Eisner and Cole Unger maybe as your bottom pair is a super nice thing to have. And then big ice, those guys skate so well. Maybe you mix them up because those guys skate really, really well, and obviously Leith skates so well at the back end too. So it's not going to be a problem with this Melfort team on the big ice surface. They manage the puck well, and I always said it, and I said it from the beginning of the playoffs, even when we were previewing it, Clark, the last thing I'll say is when you have a pairing like Olofsson and Frietmore, the best pair in the SJHL this year, no question about it now, especially, and you throw them out there 30 minutes a game, that's only a 30 other minutes that you're really worried about, because pucks, you're not in trouble when those guys are on the ice. So that's a great place to start for Trevor. Yeah,
100%. Now, I'm going to do something I don't always do on this show, and just take a quick second to give a shout out to the viewers, which we do it time to time. But if you are watching on Facebook, if you wouldn't mind, because I know there's a lot of Melfort fans, I can see them in the comments. Shout out to Tara Mitchell-Montaigne. Shout out to Jordan Barnett. Shout out to, let's see, who else is here? Janelle Laskowski. Janelle, she's not a Mustangs fan, but she's cheering for Melfort for the tournament.
You should all be cheering for Melfort.
Yes.
We're all Melfort now.
Yes,
come on.
We're all cheering for Melfort. This isn't the NHL where if you're an Oilers fan, you can't cheer for the Flames, okay? You can all cheer for Melfort. I think we're in agreement. I think we should all, if the Melfort Mustangs win this tournament, it's good for, it trickles down.
100%.
The success trickles down to everybody in Saskatchewan, and Flin Flon, I shouldn't say just in Saskatchewan, but in the league, it trickles down. It's good for the entire league if Melfort wins. Yeah. I mean, we saw a boom of success after Yorkton won in 2014 for several years. It kind of lingered, and it's great for everybody. So we're all cheering for Melfort. I think we can agree. But if you're watching on Facebook, please hit the like button. Please hit the share button, because I'm noticing that some of the other teams' fan bases haven't gotten in here yet. So make sure you do it, share it around. Please hit the share button. It helps us out a ton on this broadcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind, throw a comment in there on the comment wall, because I noticed a lot of our YouTube viewers are on the quieter side. And I have a feeling it's because it's a lot of the team's coaches and GMs and players.
Hope so.
And they don't like commenting too much. But if you are watching, just throw out a hey, throw out a hello, and just let us know you're alive over there on YouTube. Yep. And hit the like button while you're at it. However, we're still talking about the Melfort Mustangs here, Jamie. One of the things that I asked, and we'll talk about this with James Venne coming up in the next segment, but one of the things I asked is how important has having Trevor Blevins behind you guys, given the fact that he is A, won a few championships, B, been to these tournaments in the past. Yeah. How helpful has that been for you? And he said, you'll hear his answer coming up after the break. But Nugsy, just from your perspective, having an experienced coach like Trevor Blevins, who's been there, done that in these types of formats, how huge is that for these guys? Yeah,
it's enormous. And you know what? Like I've seen young coaches, I've seen old coaches, and the old coaches always seem to say, when I was young, I was trying to fill the schedule too much. I was trying to be too busy. I was too worried that the other coach was outworking me or whatever. Trevor Blevins doesn't care about any of that. He was there in 2015. at the RBC Cup, and they lost in the semifinal to Portage. And he was saying to me on the ice again, and at the Northern Lights Palace after Game 6, he said, maybe like I tried to do too much. Like we tried to practice too much and skate too much. Rest is important. Take the mind off of hockey is important. It's 10 intense days. 10 days. You're playing 5, 6, or maybe 7 games in 10 days. That's crazy. And against good teams, intense competition. So I think that was the biggest thing. Really, my takeaway is that experience that Trevor has is that he knows that less is more sometimes. Yeah. He knows what buttons, when to push buttons. You need to push some, and he's going to rotate, and he's going to try different things. But I think if you put too much pressure on every moment, then you're going to lose because you're going to get exhausted. So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not necessarily even knowing what to do. It's knowing what not to do sometimes. And that kind of leads to your point. Sometimes less is actually more. Yeah. And you know what? One thing that's really important, and if any of the Mustangs are listening, I've been a part of these tournaments. Jamie, I know you've been at these tournaments before. Just enjoy it. Take it in, because it is a very cool experience that, literally like the 1% of players get to experience this from a player's point of view, not from a viewer's or a spectator's point of view, but being a part of it. I've been a part of, I'm a baseball player in my past. I've been a part of these types of tournaments from a player's point of view. I think back and I'm like, man, I wish I would have like really kind of just enjoyed it more, rather than like freaking out and, just been a kind of let myself kind of take it all in a little bit more. So make sure you're doing that if you're a player and you're there, because it is a very cool, very rare experience that you're going to talk about for the rest of your life. You're going to tell your grandkids about it. You're going to be that annoying grandpa who's talking about his glory days in junior hockey way down the road. But anyways, it's a good time, so make sure you guys all enjoy it. And if you are going to the tournament, Jamie's going. If you're going to view and spectate, mingle, talk to people, make some new friends. It's such a great environment where everybody's there for the same purpose, regardless of where you're from, what culture you come from, French, English, everyone's there to enjoy the same thing. And it's just such a cool environment. So make sure you mingle, you network, you meet some people, talk to the person next to you, even if you don't know who they are. It's a great time, especially for the Mustangs parents. Make sure you meet some of the other parents, because it's so cool. The hockey community is such a small community at the end of the day. So, down the road, if you're a parent of whoever it happens to be on Melfort, you meet a parent from another team, your boys might play together 4 years down the road, and it's a really cool experience. So make sure you're talking to people. Nugsy, let's talk a little bit more about the hockey itself. I think we've covered Melfort. Is there anything else you want to add about Melfort?
Yeah, I don't want to sell their offense short. Obviously, they outscored the Flin Flon Bombers, and everybody was wondering whether they could do that in the finals, and they did it. Aiden Hutchinson, just magic. Ryan Duguay, when he's back in, magic. Sleva, magic. But down the line, Ty Evans is taking another step forward. Yeah. So lots and lots of forwards as well on Melfort. I'm really, really excited to see this team be kind of as healthy as they've been for a long time, too. Now that they had this time off. So that's all I got to say about Melfort.
That's it. And their forward group is deep, and it was proven, again, by the fact that they were missing some very special players, and some guys really stepped up all season long. Especially in the playoffs. Let's talk about their first opponent, which is tomorrow night, Thursday night, the Miramichi Timberwolves, who won the Maritime League. What can you tell me about this team? What are their strengths, and what should we look forward to seeing from them?
Yeah, it's their first ever championship. I spoke to Phil Fife, the coach of Amherst in the Maritime League.
Fun connection there.
Who's, of course, up for the CJHL Coach of the Year. Assisted Jason Tatarnik with the Estevan Bruins championship a couple of years ago about this team. He said that they got weapons. Their top 2 lines are really, really good. They got Zachary Turgeon and David Doucette from Val-d'Or in the QMJHL at the trade deadline, and those guys are as deadly as any in the Maritime League. They got a lot of weapons for Corey Baker. There's some goaltender uncertainty with Miramichi. Young Jack Flanagan did well to get them to the championship, but their starter has been hurt since early in the playoffs, so they made it all the way to the finals. Even and won it, obviously, without their #1 goaltender. And so that's obviously a credit to them. And, they beat a powerhouse in Summerside. And Summerside has been here time and time again and been there, done that, and a great fan base. But, look at the fans there in Miramichi, how much it meant to them, for the win their first ever championship. Miramichi's had a junior A team for a while, Clark. And so they're really passionate and they love it. And I'm really happy to see them win in a new group. And that's kind of a bit of a theme. Like, there's kind of some newer teams coming to this thing too. Sometimes you can see the same teams over and over again. But watch for David Doucette. He might be one of the best players in this tournament. Zach Turgeon led the tournament in scoring, as I said, both of them from the Val d'Or. Jeremy Duhamel, who had some QMJHL experience, had 4 points in the clinching game in Game 6. So they're more of a complete team than a top-heavy team. They're not the best skating team in the world. They're used to smaller rinks, especially their home rink. But so we'll see how they adjust to that. But again, it'll be very, very good, but tough start for Melfort first game.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said, regardless of where these teams come from, these are all champions. So these are all going to be tough opponents regardless. Speaking of good opponents, tough opponents, and like rivalries, but like not really, but yes, 100% rivalries. Sure. The MJHL, the Manitoba Junior Hockey League champions, Winkler Flyers, they broke a long streak of their own. Was it 23 years, I think, in between? Yeah, 1998. So multiple, more than that, a long time since their last championship. Now I'm trying to do the math. 26, 27 years?
That's why I need Rory.
Yeah, Rory's usually the numbers guy. Yeah. Rory, do the math and quickly comment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Winkler Flyers, they got some SJHL alum, I think, as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, a few. They got
some SJHL bloodlines.
They got Jacob Jones.
Yeah.
Too bad Rory's not here, Jacob, because he would say, well, the big thing that Rory and I have been talking about is that Dalton Andrew, their superstar, who had 82 points, led the Manitoba League, 43 goals, led the Manitoba League, just committed to North Dakota. He was cut by the Humboldt Broncos out of camp. But Jacob Jones did play for the Humboldt Broncos. Isaiah Peters did play for the Notre Dame Hounds. They beat Steinbach, the Pistons, in a sweep. So talk about some of the new blood being in there. We've seen Steinbach, we've seen Portage. In there, and the new blood, I guess, for the Manitoba League from the last little bit. They're big. They're big. Talking to Benny Walchuk as well, who obviously calls for the Swan Valley Stampeders in the Manitoba League. He talked about their size. They physical. They hit. This team is going to be a real force physically and try to wear you down low. They had some deep playoff games. They had a 4 OT playoff game in Game 6 to beat Verdun, in round 2 of the Manitoba League Championship. And the thing about them is they've got a really, really experienced coaching staff. Justin Falk, Ryan White, and Eric Fair. You know the name Eric Fair.
Yeah, of course.
Leaf and Washington Capital.
Yeah.
Justin
Falk too, NHL.
Well, that team has a
NHL
combined 1,337 NHL games under their belt, their coaching staff.
Yeah.
So
take that, Scott Barney.
Yeah, there you go. Take that. Yeah, really.
Take that, Kevin Kaminsky.
He said it, not me. But
I'm joking.
They had 12
Don't beat me
guys.
up.
They had 12 guys. I'm not exaggerating. At the SJMJ showcase. Yeah. Like from the young guns and the old guys, and Falk was their coaching. So obviously there's a lot of familiarity. Dalton Andrew and Trenton Penner are two guys to watch. Penner was the MVP of the playoffs, and it's the thing about this Winkler team is they will beat you. We'll see how they do on the big ice. They'll be interesting. I think, that's a game that you really circle, because anytime Saskatchewan and Manitoba get together in any way, it's a big rivalry, the Prairie Provinces.
It's going to be great.
But it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen several, multiple tournaments in the past where, regardless of who comes out of the SJMJ, that game is always like one of the best games of the tournament. Just because it's such the geography is there. They see each other throughout the year in the showcase events and everything. So that's always a really fun game.
Steinbach last year was awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's always a good time. I just want to retract my earlier statement about Scott Barney and Kevin Kaminsky. Please don't hurt me.
They could if they wanted to.
Oh, they would.
Yeah.
You know what? I've talked to Scott Barney lots, but I met him in person. I think for the first time. I might have met him in person a couple years ago, but I forgot how tall he is. And I'm a tall person, and I get intimidated when someone's taller than me because I don't see many people taller than me, and he's taller than me, and that scared me. And then you know what? I would never want to mess with Kevin Kaminsky, so sorry guys. I retract the earlier statement about take that. That's
my last thing I want to say about Winkler is they swept Steinbach. So they've had time off.
Right.
Like they've been resting up too. So they had a crazy round 2 against Verdun. Could have gone either way, but then they had a quick final. So that's always big too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is a help for sure, and it gives them a couple extra days to like worry about their travel and get there and just be kind of a little bit more comfortable, whereas some of the other teams might be, you know, a little bit more rushed or hectic or whatever it happens to be. We have a lot of people checking in on YouTube. The comment wall went off. We got some more people checking in on Facebook. Again, make sure you're hitting that like and share button on Facebook if you can. Brian's checking in. This is on YouTube. Hello from Melfort. We had a few other. Tara Montaigne jumped over to YouTube, and she was blowing up the YouTube channel for a little while. Connie Van Camp, hello from Melfort. So there's a lot of people checking in now. So make sure you're sharing the show. That helps us out a ton. Let's move on now to the Mustangs. The Melfort Mustangs just cannot seem to escape teams called the Bombers. They are lined up to play the Sioux Lookout Bombers, Jamie. What is that? The third game of the round robin. So what can you tell me about the Sioux Lookout Bombers?
Yeah, we're talking about new blood. The Cam River Walleye was the real power of the SJHL the last couple of years. They were swept by the Sioux Lookout Bombers, and this is the second year of existence for the Sioux Lookout Bombers. So good for them. They gave up the fewest goals in the SJHL. They got a great 1-2 punch in net. So that's one of the things, as you usually say, oh, you want to know your number one goalie, yada, yada, yada. The Sioux Lookout Bombers do not care. They'll move back and forth between Jack Osmond and Matthew Spencer Deal, and they both have great numbers. Jack Osmond at .939 save percentage in the playoffs, and Spencer Deal at .938 save percentage. So both were used. They're both finished first and second in goals against average and save percentage in the league and the playoffs. Kind of a Laser Hume and Marquardt kind of feel, but you know, they feel good about both of them. You know, 11 goals in 13 games in the playoffs for Jonas Smith, who kind of exploded. You know, they only had one loss in the playoffs as well, this team, so very, very confident. Again, the SJHL, you know, it's a league that has had a hard time at the national championship level. It's been about 11 years, I think, since the Minnesota Wilderness kind of made a run in the SJHL. So the pace of the game might be a bit of a challenge for them. But the thing about big ice is sometimes it can be an equalizer. We've seen that in international hockey, right? So, you know, it should be interesting. You know, they got some pieces, but, you know, it'll be a challenge for them. But the thing about them is their identity is defense. Their identity is being hard to play against and not giving up a lot of goals. So they only give up just over 2 goals a game in the SJHL this year. So that's going to be their calling card. And if they're going to stick around and be in games, then they're going to not give up goals. And that's a good way to start for them. Yeah,
and I mean, they're called the Bombers. So you never know. They could give Melfort a hard time just because of that alone. However, let's move on. The host team, the Oakville Blades, are also, of course, in this tournament. They are the hosts, after all. So what can you tell me about the hosts?
Yeah, this is a team I used to work for, so
there you go.
I'm excited to see them and be in their rink. That's the one thing, first of all, is it's their rink, right? They know the ice. They know a big ice game. They practice on it all the time. You know, we were joking with Trevor Blevins a little bit about whether, you know, they should try to borrow some ice from Notre Dame to practice on big ice. So you can see how big it is right there. That is the 16-mile sports complex in Oakville, Ontario, and the rinks, it feels huge. You can really get lost. I feel like the Oakville rink is even bigger than Notre Dame just because the rink is also wider.
Right.
But you know, it's quite the rink to play in. Talk about rest for Winkler and the teams that swept. Oakville hasn't played since March the 29th. 40 days it'll be between games. When they play Miramichi on May the 10th as their tournament opener. So, you know, host teams often get a big hand in picking the schedule, and they did that, so they have a day to watch and see how it goes in day one, and then play Miramichi, you know, day 2. But yeah, they lost in the second round to Collingwood in 5. You know, they're coached by a guy in Scott McCrory who's been around the OJHL game for a long time, a Whitby guy, Whitby, Ontario. He used to be part of the ownership group there with the Whitby Fury, who don't exist anymore. But he coached there as well, and you know, the guy knows it. They made a bunch of moves, especially with North York. You know, their star player Noah Tyrell acquired him from the North York Rangers at the OJHL trade deadline. He was the captain. You know, handed it off, I think, to Jacob Stritzy, if I'm not mistaken, of the Humboldt Broncos now. And, you know, so they'll know each other obviously well. And he's committed to Wisconsin Stout. And there's a bunch of SJ guys at Stout, so get to know each other there. Biggest star really is their goaltender, though, Gavin McCarthy. 20-year-old, .938 save percentage in the playoffs. You know, he's a big-time goaltending, a real star in net for the Oakville Blades. They're going to need him. Best power play in the league this year, even though they didn't have that many power plays, the Blades. They had less than 100 power plays in the regular season, but 38.9% on that power play. So, they're deadly when they get all that opportunity. And Sean Clark on that team is a guy that if you're watching the Oakville Blades closely, you're going to fall in love with. His brother, Kyle, was a great kid, great friend of mine as well, doing great things in minor pro in Huntsville, Alabama, East Coast Hockey League, or ECHL rather, I should call
careful.
it, not the East Coast Hockey League. But Sean Clark was traded as well from North York, and he's committed to the University of Toronto.
Is that the Huntsville Havoc?
Yes.
The Huntsville
That's
Havoc.
right. So again, they know the ice. They're going to be rested. How many times have we seen hosts who didn't win their league, Memorial Cups, Centennial Cups? People are like, oh, they're not that good. They didn't win. They're not, blah, blah, blah. How many times they have that rest, they have that training camp kind of feel, and they come in and they're ready to go. They're not going to be easy, and they're going to be a problem in this group. Let me say, people might be picking Melfort Winkler. Do not count Oakville because they know they're in.
So I guess the $1 million question then, Jamie. There's a two-parter, so each one is worth $500,000.
Okay.
Part one. Is Melfort the favorite in Group B? And part two, is Melfort the favorite in general?
I would say they're the favorite in Group B. Slightly. Even though, again, the margins are so small in this tournament. But I'd say they're the favorites in Group B. I would say they're not the favorites in the whole tournament. Do I think they can win, especially because James Venne is that good? Absolutely. They could win. I think it's pretty clear to me, and please don't get mad at me, anybody. You might if you want. I don't care, actually. But Calgary is the favorite. Collingwood is the 1A favorite. Collingwood has the experience, lots of D1 commits, no pack. Calgary, tons and tons of premium D1 commits. Easton Houston is going to be an NHL draft pick and not a very late NHL draft pick. He's a guy to watch on Calgary. They got pieces and weapons for days, the Canucks do. So they're the favorites. Melfort, 3, 4-ish, maybe 5 in the power rankings if you're being very negative. But they're certainly got a great chance. Obviously, there's no Brooks Bandits, there's no Sherwood Park Crusaders, there's no BCHL, Penticton Vs. We don't have to get into all of that. But they're still not.
Wait, what happened?
Favorite.
What happened to those guys?
We don't have to get into that. But Calgary is the favorite, Collingwood's the second favorite, and then we'll see.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, Nugsy, we do this every show. We now have, since we've kind of wrapped up a pretty good in-depth preview of this tournament coming up, there are some Nugs and notes we want to get to before we hit our break. So what do you got for us, Nugsy? What's going on?
Well, I should say, obviously, I always have this segment and I appreciate it. But without Rory here, as much as we really miss Rory, and he is really sick, So everybody pray for Rory.
He's very sick.
Prayers for Rory, hashtag prayers for Rory.
Actually, you know what? Let's do this. This is a Jeremy Corriganism. Jeremy Corrigan would say, 1 like equals 1 prayer for Rory McGouran. So hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook. 1 like equals 1 prayer. I hope Jeremy's watching because he says that all the time. But anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, so I get to talk a lot. I like to talk a lot. I like to hear the sound of my own voice.
Really?
So there you go. All right, commits. We always got to talk commits, and I'm happy about it. We got a graphic. Before we get into it, we have a graphic about how the league did this year, commitment-wise. So maybe we could throw that up.
I think we can.
Maybe.
I definitely think we can.
That's okay. Hopefully they'll get into it so I'll get into the newest commits and then they'll put it up. All right, so Blake Heward has committed to the University of Regina. I think I knew that for a while. I think Jacob Faith probably knew that for a very long time as well, the director of marketing, who I believe is friends with the family. And Blake is a Regina kid, so that makes sense. His dad, Jamie, of course, longtime NHLer. So there you go. Okay.
I'll find it for him.
Luke Chase, the Nipawin Hawks defenseman, is committed to Arizona State. The club team, but still really cool to go to Arizona State. And then Cage Newens is the 5th SJHLer already this offseason to commit to Vancouver Island University in the BCIHL. So there you go. Cage is going to join Rocky Bird and Davis Sato and Hunter Bergeson. And there's one more. And I forgot, but that's okay. Vizentini from Weyburn.
Oh, yeah, my boy.
All right, so there you go. All right, we move on.
The commitments graphic is in our SJHL folder, guys, just so you know, in the back. You can go get it. It's in the base folder. There we go. I should have texted them that, but keep going.
All right, well, so there's the commitments. I'll jump back to the overall graphic. Canada did win gold at the U18s, IHF U18s. They beat the USA 6-4 in the gold medal game on Sunday. Another hat trick for Gavin McKenna. Boy, is that kid good. Second in scoring at the tournament with 20 points as an underage kid. Really impressive. James Higgins of the USA led that tournament in scoring. And for comparison, that's more than Connor McDavid and Connor Bedard at the U18s for McKenna. And of course, he is the cousin, if you want an SJ connection, of Ty Mason, who played for the Weyburn Red Wings a couple of years. The sister, McKenna's mom is the sister of Willie Mason, who's an assistant coach for the Weyburn Red Wings.
There you go.
So there's the connection. All right, we have the graphic for total commits on the year. There you go, 26 NCAA, 7 to U Sports, 6 to ACAC, 5 to the British Columbia Intercollegiate Hockey League, 4 to the ECHA, the club league, and then 1 went straight to the pro, and that was Parker Layton.
Yes.
Of the L'Orange Ice Wolves, went to the Federal Prospects Hockey League. We saw Spencer Kennedy a couple of years ago, former Lethbridge kid there, or not former, he's a Lethbridge kid, former L'Orange Ice Wolf go straight to pro, as well as Connor Katzberry.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon me, from last year,
Yeah.
to go there. So cool for Parker. There you go. Thanks, boys. There you go. Good job.
And, you know, there's a good chance with Parker, you know, if he sticks, great, but there's a good chance he might find a school after that, too. You can always do that.
It's fun to just have experiences in life.
Yeah, exactly.
And my last point for Nugs and Notes is the National Aboriginal Hockey Tournament Championships is going on right now in Grand Prairie. I love talking about this tournament. It's really interesting to watch because you see a bunch of SJHL prospects playing together. Obviously all First Nations and Indigenous, Métis, Michif Nation as well. You know, Inuit, what have you. It's really interesting. Jackson Herchak, of course, the Kindersley Clipper regular call-up, is the captain of Team Saskatchewan, Colorado College commit, and my understanding is he will be a full-time Kindersley Clipper next year. He's the captain of Team Saskatchewan. Owen Nelson, pardon me, who played for, not Owen Wilson, that was pretty cool though.
Wow.
That would be right on.
Wow.
Owen Nelson of the Melfort Mustangs / PA Mintos, played for the Mustangs in the playoffs. He'll be there. He's there, pardon me, Connor Bear, former, you know, Weyburn Red Wings call-up. He's also there, among others. Connor Watson played for Nipawin. The list goes on. Lots of SJHL connections. Saskatchewan is 1-2-1, so it's not the best start to their tournament so far. I know Mariko Bercier and Ian Boers are Notre Dame Junior Hounds prospects. They're playing for Manitoba as well. But yeah, tough start for Saskatchewan, but they got a lot of weapons. We saw Zach Summers and Carter McKay and those type of guys play. Guys with regular SJHLers go to that tournament in previous years. So these guys are a little bit younger, maybe, so they went with a bit of a younger group, but still cool, and lots of guys who are going to be future SJHLers playing for Saskatchewan already. So
Always cool.
really cool. It's a U18 tournament, by the way, I should say. So there you go.
Always cool to see our SJHL guys representing a province or anything like that at any level. So
And
very
represent
cool.
their First Nation.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's even cooler. Yeah, exactly. So congrats to those guys. Looking forward to seeing how those guys all do. And that's going to do it for our first segment. Man, Nugsy, we went like 40 minutes on that first segment, so I think we covered a lot. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Melfort Mustangs star James Venne. We actually spoke to him on Monday, but we had a great chat with him, so we're going to show that to you right after the break. Stay tuned.
It's the 2023 model clearout at Capital GMC. Drum roll, please. 0% financing is back. For a limited time, finance rates are as low as 0% on select new 2023 GMC Sierras. CapitalGMC.ca.
Connecting with customers can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. At Direct West, we have the marketing tools and expertise to help introduce your business to the masses and help it grow. Connect with more customers. Direct West.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Enjoying what's around you. That's what it's all about. Farm to table, in season, locally foraged, look out the window and that's exactly what you'll see on your plate. It's the kind of experience that you'll compare everything else to for years to come. And it's so close, you can almost taste it. Indulge in our unlimited lakes and parkland. Saskatchewan.
Today, online bullying is more common than ever, but there is help. SaskTel wants to solve this problem. It's why they created Be Kind Online. If you're a victim of online bullying or know someone who is, or even if you just want to stop it from happening to anyone, this is a place to learn what you can do. You can find lots of tools and tips to help you stand up to cyberbullying. Be Kind Online is a place to learn how to stay safe as well, to learn best practices and plans to stop cyberbullying before it even has a chance.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
All right, welcome back to SJHL Weekly. Clark Munroe here, Jamie Neugebauer. Rory McGouran's taken this one off, but that's okay. We got this one handled because we are being joined now by Melfort Mustangs goaltender. Let's see, what are some of the nominations that he got? MVP nomination, Goalie of the Year nomination. James Venne joins us now. James, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Obviously a whirlwind of a couple of weeks for you, some overtime games, some big games up at the Whitney Forum, and then winning it on home ice. James, what has the last few weeks been like for you personally?
The last few weeks have been crazy, championship, that's what we wanted all year. It's what we've been driving towards, but everything along the way, the road trips to the Flin Flon and playing in the Whitney Forum, it was a blast, and the fans brought it here. It was crazy. The atmosphere was unreal, and it was a dream to win it here at home.
Let's just take it back a little bit because, like you said, there's been not just the Whitney Forum, but, and I know we'll get to the championship, we'll get to the Centennial Cup that's coming up here, but you had multiple overtime games, including a triple overtime game against Humboldt, and then you go into a Whitney Forum. We're all thinking, man, the Melfort Mustangs are going to be dogged, they're going to be tired, they're going to be out of it. A 9-2 victory in Game 1. Can you just explain what your guys' mentality was going into Game 1 for that one?
Our mentality, I remember for the 3 meetings before, we always talked about that. Most teams talk about weathering the storm, and our mentality was we're going to be the storm. We're going to come out. We're going to surprise guys, and I think that's exactly what we did. They got the first one, but we bounced back. I think it was like 10, 20 seconds later. They weren't expecting it, and we just kept on going from there.
For sure, a little Breaking Bad almost there. I'm the one that knocked Be the Storm. I don't know if you're a Breaking Bad fan at all there.
It's a great reference.
But there you go, a little bit of a reference. James, I got to ask you, in professional sports and the media, everybody's talking about this term load management. We got to protect the assets, protect the bodies of athletes, and yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, it seems like you guys aren't interested in that kind of thing. And I know you're probably a big Christian Coombs fan, and I'm sure Trevor Blevins has a lot of belief in him too, but it seemed like, all year and throughout the playoffs, like it was just James Venne over and over and over again. Did you ever get tired? Was there some sort of routine that you did to keep yourself mentally focused, given the fact that, by far you were the most used goaltender in the SJHL this year?
Yeah, well, first off, I love Coomer. He's a great goalie partner. He works just as hard as me, I'd like to say. And he's always taking extra shots, helping the boys with rebound and breakaways after and before practice, which I respect big time because I was once there. And as for just me playing that many games, I think I take a lot of pride in how much work I put in for it. I'm hot tubbing every night, recovering the body, stretching every night, and just a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of asked you during the final, one of our little interviews that we did, but across the way there was another incredible veteran goalie, had tons of numbers, and goalie of the year in the CJHL, etc. Finalist there in Harmon Laser-Hume. How much did it motivate you to have a guy like that also at the other end of the rink? Knowing that it wasn't you v him per se, but in some ways it was.
I mean, if I'm honest, the way I thought about it, I was just talking about this with a couple guys earlier. So I have a question for you guys. Who won the Stanley Cup in 2019?
Oh, geez.
2019.
The Blues.
And their goalie was?
Jordan Binnington.
And then off the top of your head, do you know who won the Vezina?
Who won the Vezina in 2019? Was it Vasilevsky?
That's pretty good, yeah.
That's Clark. That's why he's great. Yeah. Way to go.
But I think my thoughts were, I'm going out there to win a championship. There's, of course, individual accomplishments that also matter and that I would have liked to also get. But at the end of the day, I think you're only happy with the season if you come away with the big trophy, and that's exactly what we got here.
James, we don't talk about this very often, obviously, because COVID is such a weird topic to talk about. But you're amongst the age groups, the 03s, the 04s, that had a full season of a very important year of your hockey career derailed, so to speak. Can you talk about let's go back a couple of years, obviously now. What was that like in terms of changing the way that you trained, changing the way that your mindset was towards hockey, and then coming back with, I won't say your hometown team, but you're from Saskatoon, so playing with the Melfort Mustangs in 21-22 and then going on from there. Can you talk about that time of your life and how it changed how you maybe looked at goaltending in general?
I mean, I think COVID changed a lot of things for everyone, and especially me. It kind of shifted my perspective on how hard I work with my effort and workouts and everything, because no one could get on the ice for a bit. No one could do anything. So home workouts were a big thing for me during that time. I would just wake up in the morning. You're not allowed to go anywhere. So I would just work out in my room alone. And then from there, the AAA COVID year, I only got to play 2 games with my AAA team. And then from there, it was just going to play junior. So I'm kind of sad that I never got to have a year at AAA with that group of guys, because we were a great group. But I think it helped me with pushing my development a lot more forward and jump into junior quickly.
Yeah, obviously, for those that don't know, Saskatoon Blazers, Spencer Bell, obviously, what a year that he had there with the Humboldt Broncos and a D1 commit, and the list goes on. You can go and look at that Blazers roster. That whole U18 AAA league was going to be nuts that year, just in general, but there you go. We digress. I got to ask you too, James, I'd like to move into the Centennial if you're okay with that, Clark. And,
yeah.
Again, I don't know how much time you've had to do homework, but a lot of people are talking, I'm talking about how good Noah Pack is there in Collingwood, the Yale commit, and Julian Molinaro in Calgary as well, and the list goes on. Again, I asked you about, Laser, iron sharpens iron, knowing that at the other end of the ice, goals are at a premium, that's got to motivate a goalie too, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of good competition there. It's the champions from every league, so there's going to be no pushovers at all, and obviously a lot of great goaltenders as well, because you can't win without some good goaltending. So, I'm just going there to hopefully bring a bigger one home with the guys.
Yeah, there you go. No question. So then I got to ask you, how have you guys been preparing? Right now we're 2 days away from game 1 there against Miramichi of the Maritime League for you guys. How has it been different? Has it been the same preparing for, maybe a team that you don't know that much about, versus, obviously a Flin Flon Bombers team, Sherwood Division rivals, played them 6 times in the regular season. How has that been?
It's definitely going to be a lot different. We've been starting video here, going over some things that we can do on the bigger ice surface and how we can generate offense and how we can not change up our D zone, but how we can adjust our D zone a little bit to adjust to the bigger ice, because it'll be a lot more tiring and energy. It'll take up a lot more energy for our guys to be skating all around that much on that Olympic ice surface. So we've been looking at that and how to adjust, and then obviously trying to figure out their systems, their power play, penalty kill, and it's quick turnarounds for every team. So you got to be quick and you got to be on the ball with everything.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, two guys named Doucette there on that Miramichi team that can really find the back of the net. So pretty impressive. Good thing that the Notre Dame Hounds are in the league, right, Venner? Because then you have that experience on Olympic ice. Am I right? There you go. It helps you out a little bit, right?
We were actually just joking around that we were going to try and give you a call and see if we could take a practice at the dunk tank.
Yeah, well, hey, why not? But I got to ask you then, in all seriousness, though, the angles are different. Obviously, you go to Flin Flon, and obviously the angles are the boards and the corners and stuff are crazy there, and it's pretty normal, I think, at the Northern Lights Palace. You could tell me if I'm wrong, but then you have Nipawin and some crazier rinks, obviously. But then big ice. How different is it playing goalie, on international ice?
Well, everyone has a lot more time with the puck when they're on the bigger ice surface, and when you're in a shoebox like the Flin Flons, L'Orange, Nipawin, everyone in our division has a funky rink. It's a lot quicker, a lot pucks to the net and crash the net, but on the bigger ice surface, everyone has a little more time to make plays and more space to skate around and make some moves. So it's a little bit different with that, and just a lot more, I think, clear shots rather than throw the puck to the net and scramble around.
So your coach, Trevor Blevins, I don't know if he's mentioned this, but he's won a couple championships in the last little while here. So he's taken his Melfort Mustang teams in the past to national level championship tournaments. What wisdom has he imparted on you guys just to kind of say, you know what, this is a different beast. These tournaments, they're scheduled differently. The media is different. What kind of stuff has Trevor talked to you guys about in terms of that?
I mean, we've talked obviously, we're going to have fun, and it's going to be a good time with all the guys. We got almost 2 weeks there with our whole team, plus a couple extras, and it's going to be a good time. We're going to a Jays game one day, but at the end of the day, we're there to get a job done, and we're there to take care of business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just a similar question, talking about time management, being on that schedule, but also, you talked about having fun and just enjoying it. How cool is this? To go and try to win. I asked Leith Olofsson right after the championship on the ice, how cool is this to go try to represent the league, win a national championship? How many guys in their lives get this opportunity? Are you somebody that it's easy for things to kind of soak in, or is that a challenge for you?
I think it took a while for it to hit me that we won, because the first few days it was just crazy. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity that we have here, and we're just looking to not take it for granted and to take full advantage of it.
So one of the things I'm noticing, and again, with these national tournaments, there's 2, 3, sometimes 4 games a day, depending on the day. You guys have a 12 p.m. Eastern time game on Saturday, which is 10 a.m. here. Is that something, I guess the showcase, maybe you might have had an earlier game, but when's the last time you remember playing a morning/noon game in your hockey career?
The only ones that I can remember recently are both showcases this year, the SJMJ and the SJHL one in Warman. We had a pretty early one. And then last year showcase, same thing. And other than that, probably a spring tournament when I was 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you and Johan Tremblay-Cow, had a pretty good goalie duel. I think it was this year at the Warman Showcase. Earlier at 10:30 in the morning.
I think we duked it out at an 11 a.m. game.
Yeah, it was a 3-1 Melfort win or something, but it was a really good game.
So with that in mind, I guess, James, an early game like that, the afternoon naps out of the question. What kind of routine stuff do you change in terms of a morning game compared to a prime time game? Yeah, what's on the itinerary? Yeah.
I mean, everyone here is gonna say that I'd be the most superstitious guy in the room, but I like to call it routine rather than superstition. I feel like I'm a very routinistic guy. If that's a word.
Sure, it is now.
Sure. But for a day where the game's at 11 a.m. or 12 a.m., it'd be wake up, get some small breakfast in you, and then I'd start moving around, stretching, maybe a bike, and then by then we're having a meeting, and then having pregame breakfast almost, and then to the rink 2.5 before.
So you say you're a routinistic guy. Who on the team is the least, who just strolls in, gets dressed, and goes?
It's hard to say. Everyone's kind of got their little things that they do. And I sit with my headphones on, mostly don't talk to anyone before games, but there's definitely little things that I notice that people do the exact same thing. I'm like, yeah, he's there again.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anyone really that doesn't do a single thing. I think everyone has a little something.
That's fair. Anything else, Janesy?
Yeah, I mean, going to the Blue Jays game, are you a baseball fan by any chance?
Kind of come around playoff time, I'm a Blue Jays fan. That's mostly it. But I do got a couple jerseys, so I'll have to bring one to wear there.
For sure. And do you know anybody on any of the other teams at the Centennial Cup?
Not that I can think of off my head. I played with Bowden Singleton off of Calgary when we were like 9 or 10 or something.
Right. Good player. Yeah, that's good.
James, I'm going to let you go because I know you guys are traveling coming up here pretty soon, so I know you have some last-minute prep to do before that. So, again, thanks so much for joining us today, and best of luck in the next couple of weeks here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on here.
All right, and that, of course, was Melfort Mustangs goaltender James Venne. Very excited to see him on the ice come Thursday. And the rest of the tournament should be a blast. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up this episode of SJHL Weekly, so we'll see you after the break.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
Thanks for helping me out and trying to protect me today. It's the kind of thing that, somebody comes out who's not ready, not prepared, and put into an awkward situation without somebody taking leadership and saying, hey, I'm going to protect you. It's going to shorten people's careers, and that's a big reason why we exist, and what drives us to do what we do.
They know how important their role is in the community, being a good leader, showing kids that there is a right and a wrong way to do things, and leading the right way, being a positive role model to not just kids in the community, but anybody in the community.
Coach said a lot of great things that are really consistent with the values that we have at the SCSA, and respect for those around us, respect for those that we work side by side with, leadership, and part of that is being innovative and collaborative and solving problems together. Really, the last one that you touched on was integrity, doing what's right and doing it the right way. And those things just yield incredible results, not just in terms of making things safe, but really being productive and striving, whether it be in a game or in your life or in your business.
I think absolutely we try and fill the roles of all those values and just try to be the best people we can, really, not only for ourselves, but for our teammates and for the community around us.
Had a lot of fun today. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Saskatchewan's far north is where the land itself inspires. It's the beauty and power of wilderness, the solitude of a place far removed from what you might know. When this landscape surrounds you, it's like nothing else. Come and let it awaken you, energize you, Come and create your story in our Northern Lights and Waterways. Saskatchewan.
All right, welcome back to SJHL Weekly. We have one final segment here to wrap up the show today, and we are extremely excited to be joined by Director of Marketing Jacob Faith. Jacob, good to have you with us here today. There's a lot of exciting things going on this season. It's kind of that time of year where we kind of look back, see all the growth and success that we had, and there was a lot this year, wouldn't you say?
Oh man, what a season. First off, congrats to the Melfort Mustangs. Congrats to the Flin Flon Bombers. What an awesome final series. What a great playoffs that we had. And, shout out to Nugsy and to Rory and you two, but, all the guys on the SJHL broadcast did
I wasn't there.
Fantastic job. It was awesome. And just what a great year all around from all 12 teams. All the communities came out to support basically all year long. Even in the dog days of January, we still had, some great attendance numbers across the league. And, the viewership on the show throughout the year, I sit in that table, just on the other side of the studio watching you guys every Monday and Thursday. And, it's just been fantastic year all around.
Well, you touched on something there I wanted to bring up. A lot of people say, in the Netflix era, and there's so many options and streaming, and who wants to go to a junior hockey game these days?
Mm-hmm.
That is hogwash.
Yeah,
If you guys watch the playoffs, you and Kyle must have just had a huge smile on your faces.
Oh, man. It, with the final series that we had, and me and you were talking about it, it's like, wow, this is like the fastest game of hockey I ever seen. A couple of those games, but who wouldn't want to come, go out and support your local junior hockey team, in the Netflix days. You could sit on your couch, or you could, go, enjoy a live crowd, a live, sporting event in your community. And, the fans proved it this year. They came out, they showed out. And our product of hockey is really it's selling itself right now. It's fun to be a part of, and it makes my job easy when guys like you do such a great job, and the fans show up to support, and the players on the ice are doing an incredible job too.
Yeah, and you say that, and I mean, it is always, it's, the famous Saskatchewan Roughriders phrase, it's better in the stands, and it absolutely is. It's so much fun, and there was a lot of communities that we saw a bit rejuvenated this year.
Yeah.
You think of Kindersley and Melville making the playoffs after such, a good stretch of time not making the playoffs. Do you have the official, I don't know if you have the number in your head, but league attendance numbers up overall this year compared to...
Up overall, I don't know the number specifically, but, one number that stands out for me, the one I kind of memorized because it stuck out was Melville, 1,200 people in the rinks during playoffs was awesome. I was lucky enough to be there. I think it was game 3 of their series against Battlefords. And I guess you guys were there for the game of the month at the end of the season. And, you think back to the last couple of years in Melville specifically where, there is a lot of open blue seats in that rink. But, seeing... the 50-50s in the regular season above $10,000 in Melville, and the barn's rocking and the music's loud and everybody's got a drink in their hands having a great time. It's communities like that, and you mentioned Kindersley as well. The kind of rejuvenation that they've had with some coaching and roster changes. I think the people in the communities, the rinks is the heartbeat of a lot of these SJHL communities, and when there's a good product on the ice, people proved it, they'll show up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a big part of your job, obviously, is relationships with, the different companies, whether it's Cantera, whether it's Canalta, whether it's Phantom Light, etc. What are the bosses and the people that you're talking to in those companies? What are they saying about what they see about, whether it's Clark and I delivering to them kind of what you sell them, or what they see about the excitement about the league around the league?
Yeah, so UPL, the official sponsor of everything that we do here in the studio and the playoffs. Tony, who was on the show at the start of the playoffs, he's over the moon, thrilled with the partnership. Spent a lot of time with Brent Durkach, the CEO of Cantera Seeds, obviously during the final. And, he was blown away, with obviously the atmosphere in the rink, but, just kind of everything that we're doing to promote Cantera Seeds, to promote the Cantera Seeds Cup. And, the Phantom Light vodka, guys, the official vodka of the SJHL, we're in the rinks, all through playoffs, pouring some great Caesars. Nutrien, a new sponsor of the league this year, the Nutrien division. Jocelyn from Nutrien came out to a couple playoff games, and the thing I'm getting from everyone is, we're going above and beyond everyone's expectations. I think there's no other, junior hockey league in the country, at least, that are doing, shows like this. And none of it would be possible without, obviously, the talent here on either side of me, but, the corporate sponsorships that make it all possible. And, from everyone at the SJHL, if you're watching, we thank you for the support. Wouldn't be able to do, awesome shows like this and keep the fans as informed, as engaged as possible without those corporate dollars. And, the sentiment I'm getting from all the corporate deals is we're knocking it out of the park, and we just got to keep it going.
Wow, that's a good reference. I like baseball references. I'm a baseball guy, so that's great. Now, if you could put the camera on Jacob for a sec, because I was going to run and grab, you talked about UPL. I'm going to keep talking, but I just didn't want to, show.
You got the shirts.
We got the shirts.
Yeah.
We had one of the shirts here from UPL that they brought in from their Battalium, which is one of their pesticides. If you guys looked at our website, this was on our website.
And throughout the playoffs, we had UPL, some folks in the arenas. We were rewarding the loudest section in the rink. We were throwing out a bunch of these shirts to the loudest section in the rink. So I know they had a lot of fun with that. The fans had a lot of fun with that. And, I think my hearing has finally kind of come back to normal over the last, 6 weeks of crazy rinks,
Yeah, one of the partners that I took a fond liking to when we went to our triple overtime game in Humboldt was Phantom Light.
Right.
They were awesome people. They had such a cool setup, and they were at a lot of the games in the playoffs. And I heard there's maybe some news that you can't really say. And I'm not asking you to tell us what the news is with them, but those guys had a pretty cool.
Tell us if you want to.
Well, so the Phantom Vodka guys, they've got like a little mini bar on wheels, so basically, they were showing up to pretty much every game that I went to. And they were selling, Caesars and peach iced teas. And 100% of those proceeds that they made went right back to the team. So I know that there's hundreds, if not thousands, hundreds of thousands of fans that enjoyed those Caesars and those peach teas. All that money went back to the club that you're supporting. And a big thank you to the Phantom Vodka guys. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say it or not, but it's it'll be the official drink of me sitting on the boat while I'm fishing this summer. And I know it's in a can. That's, I guess, all I can say. I don't want to spoil any news. I know Steven and Brandon, they like to watch these shows.
I should say, I've said it before, Blake Heward just committed. We talked about that, obviously, a guy that you know a little bit too. Celiac, like myself, I've been drinking that Phantom Light vodka.
Yeah.
And I feel fine. And it's great. So gluten-free.
Gluten-free.
Love it.
Saskatchewan.
But there's one thing I'm still upset about with you, Jacob. And the only thing that I'm upset about with Jacob is that we couldn't get the Neugebauers sponsored this year. I guess they got back to you and said absolutely not.
Yeah, no, they said, who are you and who's this Jamie Neugebauer guy? He's got a good name though.
Figure it out. But lots of people, like Chase Freemore was like, we got to try some of those Neugebauers.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. So hey, we're like spreading the word, even if those people are not nice, whatever.
Yeah. Jacob, are you going to be at the Centennial Cup?
I'm hoping to. If Melfort makes the final weekend, I'd love to fly out to Toronto. May long weekend in Toronto would be great. I haven't looked at the Blue Jays schedule, obviously. Sorry about your Leafs, won't be playing. But if the Stangs can make a run, I'd love to be there. We had a great time in Portage last year.
Other than my car dying, but yeah.
Your car died?
Oh yeah, it was pretty bad.
That's a story for off the record probably. But
SJHL Weekly at night with Jamie Neugebauer.
But a great run from the North Stars last year. Obviously, logistically and financially a little bit easier for me to make it to Portage than it is to Toronto. But I've got a ton of faith in especially what I've seen over the last month or two from Trevor Blevins and what my buddy Tristan Fry always talks about with Trevor Blevins. I'm hoping they can make it to the final weekend and hopefully I can make it out there.
Tristan Fry, great guy.
Great guy. Shout out.
Great guy is his middle name. Tristan, great guy Fry. Jacob, there's a lot obviously going on during the season for you, but the summer's coming up and there's some stuff coming up in the summer. What's on your summer plans in terms of work? Because I know, like you said, you're gonna be on a boat. I think we all would like to be on a boat at some point.
Gonna be on a boat.
But like, there's some stuff going on in the summer as well. For the SJHL.
On your phone on a boat.
Yeah, for sure.
And some of the partners that we work with.
I guess for me personally, initially is I've got it's 30 pages long season report that'll be going out to all of the league sponsors, and my goal with that is to basically start a conversation about next year. Like, look at our growth, look at our trajectory. Here's what we're doing, and then hopefully we can come up with some additional assets to find some new partners. Last year, we didn't even know about Nutrien, for example, being able to come on. We didn't know about Borgo coming on for the forward of the year and all the great stuff that they do. So, if we have some available assets, I've got a lineup of companies that would like to be a part of the SJHL, which is great. But also, I think, when it comes to summer content, I think, I actually talked about this on the Sports Cage a couple weeks ago, is there's so much great history with a lot of, the teams in our league. I'm way before my time even too, so if, great storyteller like Nugsy, I'm not trying to volunteer you for some writing here or some storytelling, but, there's so much history in Melville, for example, where, they haven't been, in the finals, where, the last couple of years we give a lot of shine to the communities and the towns just because we spend so much time there for those teams that are in the final. So I think if we can do some storytelling over the course of the off season, I think that would be great.
I think we want to get in touch with some alumni, get some stories and some success stories and stuff like that. And I know also there's like the league meetings coming up, the SJHL draft will be coming up down the road as well. But of course, it is like the end of the season, and you mentioned your big report, and I know you've been working hard on it, and I've seen parts of it and most of it, and a lot of the social media stuff, which, I mean, obviously I'm very involved in, Nugsy's very involved in now, more than ever. A lot of good things coming out of that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, at what point does it stop going like this?
Never.
Basically everywhere. Because last year, when I made the end of season report, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
And then, like, this year, I was a little nervous pulling up the graphs, and it's like that again. So it's the consistent content that's coming out. You guys are so on top of things with, whether it's just retweeting the lineups before every game and stuff like that, to making organic content, that you guys do. It's the consistency that the fans really like. It's and it's all platforms too. It's not just one or the other. It's all platforms have been, running on all cylinders. Obviously a little bit of a roster reconstruction here mid-season with the departure of Jeremy, who did a fantastic job. But, there was a little bit of, are we going to take a step back? And that just wasn't the case at all. So it's, we put out great content along with, the great on-the-ice product that we have. And you know what, having a great studio here at IKS, shout out to Paul Druin and all the guys working in the back here. Fantastic job all year. It's like an 8-month, 9-month marathon, 10 months, however long it is. It's a marathon, and you know what, you guys and these guys in the back, they show up every day, and it's, just hats off to everybody.
Yeah, and like Kelly makes all the graphics. Thank you for everything too. Rory, hopefully you feel better.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Rory. Yeah, we're missing Rory. Yeah, shout out to Rory too.
Rory's great. Like, obviously we joke, but love him to death, and wish he was here. Wish he was doing better, but.
We'll get him back. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. He'll be back. Of course, he'll be a big part of our draft show, which is coming up in June. So stay tuned for all that news. Jacob, earlier on, I asked Jamie Neugebauer, noted SJHL insider Jamie Neugebauer, who the favorite of the Centennial Cup was going to be, and he said not the SJHL team.
I didn't say they had no chance. Yeah. I didn't say they weren't a favorite.
Noted guy who works for the SJHL said that the SJHL team wasn't a favorite. Jacob, who's the favorite? Who's the favorite? Who's the favorite at the Centennial Cup?
They are a favorite. They are not the favorite.
Jacob, who's the clear-cut favorite at the Centennial Cup?
The Melfort Mustangs, 100% they're the team to beat.
All right, I'm out of here. See you later.
But seriously, like, I don't know who the favorite is necessarily. Like, Melfort wasn't the favorite going into the
And they love
final.
They love that.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who the favorite is right now. You know, I keep on bringing it back to your Leafs, Clark. It doesn't matter who the favorite is and you know who wins throughout the season. You got to be able to win when it matters. And you know what? These guys have been playing in front of. They went into the Whitney Forum games 1 and 2, and you know. No offense, kind of slapped them around the first 2 games. So I have all the faith in the world in Trevor Blevins, and you know, really excited for the opportunity that the Mustangs have in front of them.
Can we bring up the schedule for the tournament? I believe we had a schedule for the Mustangs. There are 4 games in the round robin. If we could bring that up, there it is. So again, they play Miramichi on Thursday, May 9th, 5:30 Saskatchewan time. Again, you can watch this all on hockeycanada.ca. They play the Winkler Flyers, of course, on the Saturday. It's the morning game, so get your coffee, get up early. It's a 10 a.m. Saskatchewan time start on Saturday, and then they play the Sioux Lookout Bombers, which is the SJHL at 10 a.m. on, what is that, the Tuesday? And then the host, Oakville Blades, on the following Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, you're right, yep.
At 5:30, that's the primetime game on that Wednesday. Of course, the host team always gets the primetime games. And, you know, granted, they are the host team. So I guess final word, but I'm going to start with Jamie, but I'll come back to you as well, Jacob. Final word on the Centennial Cup, Jamie, the excitement and the schedule and everything going on.
It's a good schedule. I don't mind it. Good spread out, mix of late games and middle games. I talked about liking the middle games because then you have the rest of your day to do what you want.
Yeah.
But, you know, these boys don't mind. We asked James Venne there, you saw about, you know, playing a 10 o'clock game or a noon game. You know, it doesn't matter. Just go out and play. They're 19, 20-year-olds. Like, they'll be fine. And this Melfort team, they could have used excuses all year long. They could have used excuses in the finals. They didn't do it. So there's not going to be any excuses. I absolutely believe 100% in my heart that they can win the gold medal game on Sunday. They are certainly one of the favorites.
You cover your tracks.
It's the truth. It's just the truth.
I mean, to piggyback off like the round robin schedule, Saturday morning, SJ versus MJ. Last year in Portage, those Battlefords versus Steinbach and Portage, those were like the best games of the whole tournament. Then, you know, Battlefords came out victorious. Shout out to the SJHL, you know. You know, I've got that one circled, and then obviously playing the host, the final game of the round robin on prime time under the lights. You know, really looking forward to the competition and how, you know, the Saskatchewan brand of hockey stacks up with the rest of the country.
Just for reference, they have lights on in the arena for every game.
Okay.
But I know what you meant. They won't be playing in the dark. I just wanted to make sure that was.
I also want to say, like,
clarified.
We will be covering the tournament like very closely.
Yes.
I will have lots of content. We will have lots of content.
We already have content.
We'll be covering
not just the show, but there's already stuff on social media.
So.
And again, that's a good segue, Nugsy. Thank you very much. Make sure you follow us on social media, on all of our channels, our Facebook, of course, our YouTube, which you might be watching this on right now, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We'll be posting stuff pretty much everywhere. Flow Hockey, yes, we love those people, but all of the games will be at hockeycanada.ca, not Flow Hockey. Again, I repeat, the games are not on Flow Hockey, so don't tweet us and say, I can't find the game on Flow Hockey. They're not there. They're on hockeycanada.ca, all of them.
But our good pal Sean Mullen will be pretty much in charge of the broadcast there. He's great. So
yes, shout out to Sean.
Shout out Sean.
Great guy, great broadcaster, great guy.
And the final on TSN.
Yes, exactly.
If we get
I think is it the whole final weekend?
I think it's just the
or
final.
just the final.
Game,
okay, because I know they have done, I think, both in the past, but just the final game. So we will be seeing the tournament favorite Melfort Mustangs on TSN on Sunday. Make sure we want to thank our sponsors again just before we take off. So thank you to everybody at UPL, of course, and Battalium, the great folks over there, of course, for sponsoring the shows, all of our playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. And we're excited to have them back for a whole lot more next year. It's going to be great. Borgo, Cantera Seeds, Capital Automall, Chevrolet, Great Western, Nutrien, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, Sask Energy, SGU, and SGI. Awesome group of partners, and we can't wait to get them all back next year and keep it growing.
And shout out to you for reading off that list every show. That's a mouthful.
That's I'm going to give credit to Jeremy Corrigan because he started it, and I'm just carrying the torch. But yeah, thank you, Jacob, for joining us today. Jamie, Bryce, and Jordan in the back. Everyone here at IKS for all the graphics and everything that we do here. Thank you to all of you for viewing. Congrats again to the Melfort Mustangs. Tournament favorites, officially. Stamped it here for the Centennial Cup. And we're super excited to see them hit the ice. What is it, like 24 hours from now? Pretty much. So enjoy the hockey, everyone. And we'll catch up with you down the road. But we'll have lots of coverage for you all over the SJHL platforms. See you next time.